Who is the GOAT of the Championship? I've gone ahead and picked out the last 16 winners of the Championship Player of the Year award, and in today's video we're going to be putting all of them up against each other in a head-to-head tournament to come to the conclusion of who for me is the GOAT of the Championship. If you would like to see any other videos in this style, then do leave a like on today's video and do leave your suggestions in the comments down below. We can do it with current players or anything like that, managers as well, which could be interesting. This right here is the tournament bracket of players that we are going to be ranking in today's video. So these are the past 16 winners of the Championship Player of the Year award. We've gone ahead and randomly generated them all into an order up against each other. So I've not gone ahead and selected these matchups, and it's come up with some interesting ones, and obviously the deeper we go into the rounds, the tougher it will get to go ahead and separate these players. So starting out at the top, we've got Jason Kumas versus Alexander Mitrovic. Kumas, the winner of the 2007 award, versus Mitrovic, the latest winner in 2022. Now, I must admit, Kumas a little bit before my time in terms of when he was at his peak, but in terms of the stats from that season, I mean, he was absolutely fantastic for that West Brom side. In terms of a long-range shooter, free kicks and stuff like that, one of the best to have ever done it in the Championship. It's just a shame that in the first round, he's coming up against a guy who's just broke the Championship goal-scoring record with 40-plus goals, and I don't think we'll see anything like that ever again, to be honest. So, the winner of the first battle, I'm going to have to go ahead and send Mitrovic through to the next round out of them two, I'm afraid. Next up then, we got a battle between Patrick Bamford and Danny Ings, the 2014 winner up against the 2015 winner. Now, if I remember rightly, there was a little bit of controversy with both of these winning the awards from those seasons. Interestingly enough, neither player was the top scorer in the Championship this season they went ahead and won the award. The year Danny Ings won in 2014, I think Ross McCormack had scored more goals than him, and in 2015, when Bamford went ahead and won, I think Daryl Murphy of Ipswich had scored more goals than him. Despite that, both of them obviously had fantastic years, but between the two of them, I think it's Danny Ings who I'm favouring out of this one. Just have more memories of that season from him and how good he was for Burnley. So between those two, I'm sending Danny Ings through. Taarabt versus Ryan Sessegnon is the next battle, and I mean, listen, there's not much of a battle in here for me. We'll talk about Taarabt a little bit more the later on in the video we go, because I'm sure he's going to make it through several rounds here. But Ryan Sessegnon was an interesting winner, obviously brilliant for Fulham in the season that he won the award, played sort of transition throughout that season, started as a left back but then moved further up the pitch as well, and was absolutely fantastic at sort of ghosting in at the back post and coming up with that final goal. But he was somewhat of a controversial winner, if I remember rightly, in the year that he did win the award. I think in 2018, I was probably favouring Ruben Neves as a player who had a better season than Sessegnon, but he had the numbers to go ahead and back it up. But between the two of them, it's no question, Taarabt goes through out of these. After that, for Teemu Pukki in 2019 up against Kevin Nolan in 2010. Kevin Nolan and that Newcastle side just absolutely blitzed the Championship. It was a Premier League squad playing in the Championship, and Kevin Nolan was exactly that. 17 goals he scored that season from midfield. Just a player who was just well a level above the Championship at the time. Teemu Pukki, though, obviously, what a story that was in the end, signing for Norwich on a free transfer, and to have the debut season that he did have with them, with Daniel Farke in there as well. Between these two, love Kevin Nolan for that season, but Pukki definitely goes through between these. After that, we got a great battle. Sylvan Ebanks-Blake of 2009 versus Ollie Watkins of 2020. Now, Watkins was brilliant during that season with Brentford, obviously. In the end, they weren't actually promoted that season. They finished third in the end and came up short in the playoffs. They were promoted the following season. Similar numbers in terms of goals and assists. Watkins did score more, but Ebanks-Blake had more assists to his name and one more goal contribution overall. Wolves in the 2009 season were absolutely brilliant as well. It was under Mick McCarthy, and that was just a season that I personally have really fond memories of. You know, Preston made it into the playoffs on the last game week of the season. Ebanks-Blake and the catalogue of goals he scored that season was fantastic, but you could also say the same about Ollie Watkins. I mean, that goal he scored, I think, against Blackburn that season was absolutely out of this world. This one's a really tough battle for me, and it may be a little bit of nostalgia kicking in, but I think I'm going with Evanks Blake. You know, his team was promoted in the end. They were the best team in the championship, and his goals helped them get over the line. I think I'm just edging him over Ollie Watkins in 2020. After that, for Anthony Knockaert of 2017 versus Ricky Lambert of 2012. Ricky Lambert's numbers this season were an absolute joke, and I do think that this season from Lambert is a little bit slept on, only for the fact that he only had one season in the Championship during his absolute peak. You know, Southampton, back-to-back promotions from League One to the Championship, then to the Premier League, but to come up with not just the goals he got that season, but 14 assists on top of that as well is absolutely crazy. He's going up against Anthony Knockaert, who, for all his faults, and you know, he is at times a little bit of a pantomime villain in terms of the diving, you know, and the antics and stuff like that. At his best, he is one of my all-time favourite Championship players. He just had, and in that season for Brighton especially, just sort of those Eden Hazard sort of vibes about him in terms of how silky he actually was on the ball. The catalogue of goals that he actually scored from that season as well, with sort of those finesse ones from outside the box, those times where he'd wriggle round players, set pieces as well. I'm absolutely gutted that I'm going to have to send Knockaert out in the first round, because I absolutely adored him from this season, but Ricky Lambert has to take it between these two for me from 2012. After that, for Matej Vydra of 2013 versus Andre Gray of 2016. Andre Gray was the Golden Boot winner in the Championship this season, up against a Vydra who was absolutely fantastic for that Watford side back in 2013. Now, Burnley won the league during that Andre Gray season, and this was Andre Gray really in his pomp, you know, when he was absolutely rapid, getting on the end of those long balls and things like that. And in terms of an overall sort of just striker, Gray was one of the best we've seen in the Championship. However, I know Gray slightly edges Vydra when it comes to goal scoring numbers, but Vydra was a little bit more than that. You know, he had Troy Deeney in the side that season as well, who scored 19 goals for Watford. And in terms of Vydra's all-round play, the catalogue of goals that he scored that season as well, I think Vydra is sometimes a little bit overlooked during this season, because it was the Deeney season for that goal against Leicester in the last minute, so a lot of people look back quite fondly for him. But Vydra just had that X factor about him, and between these two, I think this one's really close, but on personal preference, I think I'm sending Vydra through, you know. And then the last battle of the first round, we have Emi Buendia of 2021 versus Kevin Phillips of 2008, obviously. Kevin Phillips, absolutely prolific striker, not just in the Championship, but in the Premier League as well. But whenever he did dip into the Championship, he was absolutely unbelievable. Playing for West Brom this season, another 20-goal plus one for him. But he's up against Emi Buendia of 2021, and not just the numbers that back up how good Buendia was this season, but on the eye test as well. Buendia was one, and he's one of the best players I've ever seen at this level, in terms of everything really. Goals, assists, creativity, vision, playmaking. He just had a little bit of everything rolled into one, and also had that little bit of nastiness as well that gave him that little bit of edge that you sometimes get with South American players. And it's harsh on Kevin Phillips, but Buendia goes through here for me. So as you can see on screen there, those are my selections for the first round of players we've got through, but in the next round gets even tougher to split these guys. Heading back up to the top, I think realistically there's only one winner between Mitrovic of 2022 and Danny Ings of 2014. Ings has had a good run so far, got past Bamford in the first round, but Mitrovic walks this round quite easily for me. Taarabt versus Teemu Pukki, two very different players, really, obviously. Taarabt for the overall, all-around game, and Pukki just in terms of an absolute goal scorer, and the storyline as well with him signing on a free, and then to go on and score the goals that he did for Norwich in that debut season. But between the two of them, and Pukki is, you know, an all-timer in terms of the Championship. His goals-to-game ratio is absolutely outrageous, golden boots and things like that, but this is Championship royalty we're talking about here. Adel Taarabt gets the nod over Teemu Pukki for me personally. Ebanks Blake of 2009 versus Ricky Lambert of 2012. Ebanks Blake, he is one of my all-time favourites in the Championship in terms of a number 9, and that Wolves team that season under Mick McCarthy were just absolutely prolific. I remember watching them when they came to Deepdale in the flesh, and they had a number of brilliant performances that season, but Ricky Lambert in 2012 was just a different beast. So as much as I love Ebanks Blake, Ricky Lambert takes the nod here between the two of them. Last up then for this round, we have Matej Vydra of 2013 versus Emi Buendia of 2021. Maybe a little bit more comparable in terms of actual play styles. Vydra obviously maybe a little bit further up the pitch. Buendia occupied sort of that right-hand side for Norwich and then liked to drift inside as well and get involved with a lot of the play. Obviously, really from Buendia we saw two unbelievable seasons in the Championship, but that 2021 year especially, I think, does get the nod over Vydra here for 2013. So Buendia goes through there. We're now into the semi-finals, and oh my god, we've got some tough matchups now. Semi-final number 1, Alexander Mitrovic of 2022 versus Adel Taarabt of 2011. I hate the fact that we've got this as a semi-final matchup, because I personally feel as if these are the two greatest ever individual seasons that we've ever seen in the Championship, and people will have a preference on this one, and to be honest, I'm not massively swaying towards one side. And so if you were to pick Mitrovic over Taarabt, I'd respect that, or if you were to go the other way, Taarabt over Mitrovic, I'd also understand that, because this one really comes down to personal preference, and different things back up different players in this argument. Obviously the numbers go ahead and back up Mitrovic, albeit he is a striker. 50 goal contributions though in 2022. Not just broke the Championship goal scoring record, but absolutely obliterated it. And from the times that Mitrovic had played in the Championship in the past, we all knew that he was a cut above that level, but not quite to the degree that he showcased throughout that season. It was absolutely ridiculous stuff. And I mean, 50 goal contributions in the Championship over a single season. Are we ever going to see that ever again? I'm not totally sure. However, Adel Taarabt also comes into this one with a massive argument to be the greatest Championship player of all time, given that 2011 season. And 40 goal contributions is also absolutely ridiculous considering he was playing as a midfielder. But what also backs Taarabt up is the fact that I went ahead and looked back on that QPR squad that he was a part of that got promoted in 2011, and if you compare it player for player to what Mitrovic was working with at Fulham in 2022, it's absolutely night and day. That was arguably the biggest carry job in Championship history from Taarabt that season, because don't get me wrong, QPR did have other good players within that squad, but not to the degree of which, if you were to take Taarabt out of that QPR squad, they get nowhere near promotion that season. Whereas even if you take Mitrovic out and put in another semi-decent Championship striker into that Fulham squad, they probably still get at least the top 6 as a bare minimum. Obviously it was a great squad he was working with, but at the same time, should that count against Mitrovic? I'm talking myself into circles here. The eye test certainly backs up Taarabt. I think between the two of them, Mitrovic was just an absolute goal machine, but in terms of the array of goals that Taarabt scored that season, inside the box, outside the box, the skills as well, the playmaking ability with how many assists he actually picked up, I've changed my mind on this one so many times, and this one really does come down to personal preference. Originally, I was siding with Mitrovic just because 50 goal contributions is out of this world. But do you know what? I actually think I may be favouring Taarabt for this one just because of the eye test. The numbers also back up him being brilliant, and playing in that QPR squad and carrying them in the manner of which he did that season. I think he gets the nod here for me, and that's a bit mad. Our second semi-final then comes down to Ricky Lambert of 2012 versus Emi Buendia of 2021. A similar sort of argument for the Mitrovic against Taarabt debate. Two quite different players. Buendia, the creative hub of that Norwich side, obviously with all the assists and goals that he also got, whereas Ricky Lambert was very much the focal point of that Southampton team. To score 27 goals and get 14 assists on top of that as well is absolutely ridiculous. It was a good Southampton team, to be fair, looking back on it, and the sort of other players that they had on that side, and then how they went ahead and adapted to the Premier League as well. But I think between these two, personally, I've got Buendia's back here. That season in 2021, it's fresh in my memory as well. He was just something else, and week in, week out was exceptional. Into the final we go, and it's Adel Taarabt versus Emi Buendia. Taarabt of 2011 versus Buendia of 2021. Now, I'll probably give this one away, given how I've spoken about Taarabt previously, and that he, for me, will go on and win this. But let's not, you know, try and pretend that it's not at least a debate between these two, because I certainly think that Buendia brings a lot to the table in this conversation. Obviously, Buendia's season is a lot more fresh and recent in the memory, and the biggest compliment I can pay to Buendia from that season is the fact that, generally speaking, with playmakers, they tend to be a little bit inconsistent by nature, because that's their whole role. You know, to be creative, you have to risk giving the ball away a lot, and sometimes that just won't come off you. But that season for Buendia especially, literally without fail, every single game week something would come off for him. Whether or not he'd get a goal or assist, he'd consistently produce moments of magic. And yeah, it was a point in which you just thought, this guy is levels above the Championship. And in that season for Norwich, he absolutely was. You know, this was his second full season in the Championship after he'd already gone ahead and smashed it the first time around. I think that everyone was really taken back and amazed by the fact that he'd even stuck around for this season in the Championship, given some of the offers that he had available to him. But Buendia certainly has excellent numbers to back him up from this season as well. He is 9 short of Taarabt, though, with 31 goal contributions in all. And for me personally, I think Taarabt has to go ahead and take this one. It was a real tough one between Taarabt and Mitrovic in the semi-final, but between these two, they are more comparable in terms of play styles, the role they had in each of their teams. And I just think that for the overall package, I think Taarabt has to take this one overall. So coming in as my overall winner of this debate, I suppose, tournament that we've had of every Championship player of the season winner, for me personally, the best of the bunch is Adel Taarabt from 2011. There we have it though, guys. That will now wrap it up for today's video. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. If you would like to see any other videos in this sort of tournament knockout style, do show your support on today's video and get any suggestions down below for other subjects you'd like to see me tackling in this fashion. Thanks for tuning in though, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.